But looking at the cycle and zooming out even more. So if you want, maybe we could launch off with this by looking at that post from that Jesse Eckel person that I sent you. I'm not even really sure who that is, but I just thought he summed it up pretty well in the post that I sent you. Okay, perfect. Yeah. If we look at that first, so we can kind of bounce off this and then just give our thoughts. So he said, everyone and their mom is planning on selling the top next month because they believe the 4-year cycle is still repeating. As I've been saying since the start of 2025, I mean, I can't substantiate that, but he says this will be crypto's first 5-year cycle. The cycle will extend well into 2026 due to things like the SLR adjustments, the credit cycle, and Becente's mandate from heaven to run the economy hot. Past cycles lined up perfectly with year-over-year liquidity growth and wider macro conditions that were supportive of risk assets. This cycle hasn't had anything even remotely similar. It's been abysmal, which is why it's felt miserable for most of the crypto space, despite BTC going basically up only due to the ETF bid and institutional narrative. 2026, we have Powell out of office and Trump stacking the Fed in his favor while asking for 300 basis points of cuts. We have the Clarity Act, which on its own is bullish enough to kick off a bull run, altcoin ETFs, the SEC throwing the doors wide open, and so much more. Past cycles topped in peak euphoria with retail mania everywhere as liquidity shifted from maximum easing toward tightening, taper, QT, high signaling. Those tops made perfect sense if you looked at them through a macro lens. This cycle makes zero sense. We're heading into a rate cutting cycle. QT isn't getting ramped up, but likely ending in early 2026. SLR policy for banks is loosening, reserve requirements not tightening. Coupled with the ramping up of institutional involvement, the regulatory floodgates opening wide, and the ETFs acting as the ultimate on-ramp for boomers, trillions, most ETF action is retail-driven, not institutional. I think it is beyond absurd to think this cycle is anywhere even close to over. That coupled with the fact that institutions are onboarding slowly. They're marketing, releasing products, and getting their clients into crypto. We should see this accelerate into 2026 as well. I'm sure at some point we'll see a crazy sell-off driven by the 4-year cycle believers. Don't let that psyop you. This will be the first 5-year cycle. So there's a lot of interesting food for thought. I mean, you can't deny some of the things that he said. Like the quantitative easing has not really started yet. We just had our first rate cut. I mean, we're only seeing the beginning of money printing about to happen. Bitfinesse made a good point earlier about the government shutdown happening today. I'll be honest, I haven't even remotely followed that story, but it's no secret. I mean, we are going to see money printing start to happen. They got as close as they could to, try to stave off inflation. They're going to continue to kick the can down the road. It's a never-ending story that we always talk about. But I'm curious as to your response to some of his points here. I mean, I know people like to criticize the meme of like, oh, this time is different. The things that are happening in terms of quantitative easing have been different. Like the calendar has been different, and he's right. Like these things have not happened yet. I don't know that that means that we do definitely run deep into 2026, but I think the possibility is stronger than ever probably right now. So what do you make of his points here?
Well, yeah, I mean, you have to give some credibility to it, right? I still think you have to go based on what you know. We can only go based on the statistical evidence that has been there for the last four cycles. Could it go longer? Well, of course, anything could happen. The question is, will it? And will those other things, do they matter to crypto? And, the rate cuts for sure, the money printing for sure, the QT, the quantitative tightening and easing, I don't know. I mean, again, we just don't know. There's not enough data to say how far. We said this could go into 2026. We said that probably first quarter was our pretty much latest prediction, or at least that I've made anyway. I think you're starting to fall into it could go later. But again, we forget that it doesn't take long. A bull market does not last long. Everybody's out there thinking, oh, this is going to go months and months and months of bull market, and that's just not how it works. It never has before. Why? I just don't think anything changes. When things get that heated up, you see that bubble and you see the pop at the top. I mean, it is what it is. Every cycle, it's the same way. It runs super hot. Retail gets in. Everybody's chasing candles. It gets so overbought. and then that's it. So will there be people that sell off? Probably, because again, that's the data that we know. That's what you have to go based on. Could there be secondary things to keep it going? Well, we look back at 2021, and the top that happened there in April, and then it continued to make a secondary high in September. So, or I think it was September, but either way, whatever it was, there were people that took profits in April. I know there were. And then there were other people that got sucked into thinking it was going even higher because of talk like this. And they probably got wrecked because they bought in as it was going up, thinking, oh crap, it's not over yet. And now there they are holding the bags that fell like crazy. So I just think you have to be leery, and you have to watch what you say, and especially in times like that where, yes, there could be a secondary high top, but will it affect the rest of the cycle? Now, that is when altcoins actually peaked, right? Most of them on the second part of the cycle. So there's a lot of ways. There's a lot of ways to look at this, and the best we can say is, man, I just don't know. I really would love it if we had a clean cycle again. But some of these things that these people are talking about lead me to believe more of a double top, where it does get hot, it cools off, and then maybe there is more money printing. Maybe in 2026 we do see another secondary double top of an all-time high. Anything's possible. It's just, that's my way of saying, man, I just really don't know, and I don't want to lead people astray, other than to say now's the time to buy, because things are heating up. I do know that is one thing for certain. When you sell and take profits, that's kind of on everybody else at their point. But that's where I'm at with this whole thing.
Well, I do agree with something that you said. Because he listed off a lot of stuff there, and I do think some of it's noise. Like, I don't put as much credence in the SEC is doing this and the Clarity Act, and that to me is just conjecture. Like, I'm not at all paying attention to anything like that. I'm strictly looking at money printing. Like, when is this stuff happening? And like you said, those are the most important bullet points, and it is happening later in this cycle than we've seen before. I tend to think somebody that is this rooted into that we're running deep into 2026 may be mistaken, but I think there's a scenario where everybody wins here.
Sure.
Well, I should say this: not everybody's going to win, but everybody could be right. Because, and you don't have to bring this up, but Bob Lucas, I saw, he of the 4-year cycle fame and stuff, just tweeted a little bit ago, like, I'm seeing a lot of people talk about the idea of a 5-year cycle, like that's this cycle's new terminology for super cycle or whatever. And then he said in a subsequent tweet, regardless, the 4-year cycle would be intact as long as like we bottom hard in late 2026. He's basically saying, and I'm not blaming him, but he's having his cake and eating it too. Like, he's basically saying, yeah, we could top into 2026. Like, to him, it is still a 4-year cycle if the top comes April, May of 2026, because he's still thinking maybe there's a violent enough move where November, December, which still lines us up, is the bear market bottom in 2026 of next year. So whether Bitcoin tops this month, the cycle overall this month, November, December, April of next year, as long as we see the bottom on time at the end of next year, like Bob Lucas is like, hey, that's still the 4-year cycle. So it's all the terminology. Like, there's a lot of nuance to it, and it's all like, even what this guy's describing here, I don't even know that that's a 5-year cycle, because if you look at it through Bob's lens, it's like, if the bear market low is the end of next year, I still consider that a 4-year cycle. So you can say whatever words you want to define it. But like you just said a minute ago, I think what we agree on is we haven't topped yet. There hasn't been an altcoin season. Ethereum's done nothing, and we're still waiting for it. So, yeah, I think that the window, very conservatively, is definitely within the next... Boy, I mean, I think the latest that I would guess right now for a top would be like May of next year, but I don't think I would go any deeper than that.
Yeah.
And again, I think everybody can be right. still. So
yeah, everybody could be right. It sounds like Bob's talking out both sides of his mouth. I try not to do that.
yeah.
I try to stick with what I believe. But however, you are seeing a lot of things that are pointing, and credit to where it's due. Axis has been talking about it going deeper into 2026 for a long time as well. So
Yes.
let's not forget that. And again, it only takes 8 to 10 weeks usually for the bull market to take off, to hockey stick, to go crazy. And that is those green candles that we always talk about that will get people retail start to pump money in. So it's not too late until it becomes November and we still haven't seen anything. Then it's like, okay, I'm resigned to the fact what this has to go, into then. So, until then, I'm going to believe that we're still going to see a first very, very high pump, all-time high. Again, December, January, one of the two. That's where I'm still sitting.
And I think there's merit equally to both still right now. Like most of the people, many people, participants in this market right now have not seen that parabolic move at the end of a bull market and cannot conceive, that right now within the next 2 months to 3 months, this all could happen. You know what I mean? Like some
Right.
people have never seen that. Like you have seen that. Now that was a few cycles ago when the assets were a lot younger and moved a little bit differently. So,
Yeah,
but I'm
that's
not
true.
saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that I could flip a coin, basically. I mean, I think there is a lot of credence. As I just said, flip a coin. I'd say there's probably 50% chance that, next year could be it. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, don't forget, we've seen violent moves in 2017. We've seen violent moves in 2021. Those are the two that I've seen anyway, both to the upside. So, yes, things, and there was a lot less to buy. Don't forget, like you said, coins were young. Everything was, and there were only so many. Now there are multi-chains. There's thousands of coins on each of those, and it's definitely spread it out. The thing that I think most people had thought would happen is the overall people in crypto would have also increased, and I think it has. I really do. I mean, every time you look, there's more and more people that are waking up to crypto and believing in it. So, I think that's growing, maybe not at the pace that some people kind of expected it to. And that could be another part of this whole equation too, is the overall people keeping up with the pace of all these newer things, right? It takes a lot of people to support all the different chains and all the different coins. And so, yeah.
Do you want to? We'll do this very quickly because I don't want to belabor the point. Do you want to show the M2 money supply real quick, and we'll just kind of point to what we're seeing lately, and then we can move on from this since it's been the whole show so far.
Yep. Let's go there. Am I sharing this one? Here we go.
Yeah, there you go. All right. So, this is the global M2 money supply, which Ewok and I were looking at off air. And as you can see, it's up only forever, obviously, because we know that the money printing continues forever. But if you do look lately, and this is very zoomed out. I mean, we're going years over years over years. But if you look at the upper right of this chart and you look at, and again, this is a much, much like kind of flatter chart than we're seeing with drastic crypto moves, which makes sense for what this is. But we are just now, this point in time, marking an all-time high and just moved past the little peak that we had in, was that 2022, I believe?
Yeah, it was March 30. Well, the end of March. So these go, the best candles that you can do is a monthly with the money supply. This was the very end of March 2022.
So you can see we have basically been in a correction, and again, the move doesn't look as drastic as your, Tangang chart or whatever, but we've been in a dip basically and recovering up over the last year, and we are back to all-time highs for the global M2 money supply right now. So, I mean, that should be a sign of things to come. We just recovered this move, just moved past where we were in 2022. And you figure after this correction we've had for the last 2 to 3 years, we're going to see continue. I don't think there's any such thing as just like drastic move up with this chart, but we're going to continue to see just a nice, easy move up for the next at least year, if not two.
Yeah, I agree. When you break it out like this, like I said, when you expand this thing, it looks pretty flat, but then you start to zoom way out on it, and it just, there's your money printing since the 90s anyway. This starts in 91, it looks like. So from 91 till now, it's been nothing but up. To your point, it did top out around March 31st of 2022. Looks like we hit a bottom here in April of 23, and it's slowly, just ever so slowly, but here it turned it up. It started to turn it up probably October, November. Guess that was right around election time, maybe. Turn up the printers, try and get some things working in our favor, or right before that, where the Democrats probably started saying, well, let's try and win this. And I think that's where the spending started. Then it did taper off a little bit in December, and now we're tapering back up. And again, like you said, to your point, we just passed not long ago the top, which was 21.8 trillion. Now we are up to 22.2. So again, we have eclipsed that old all-time high in the money printing, money supply cycle, or not cycle. It's just the money supply. And yeah, if we can get this to turn up a little bit, it's definitely good for those of us in crypto.